club like Cave City deserves to be in an environment like this. Accidentally wore my purple today, and I happen to match our robot team. John Knox has our invocation, pledge, and Rotary.
Okay. Somewhere in my pocket, I have my cheat sheet.
I do.
Okay. Start off with our prayer, right? I think. I got that part right. I'm halfway there. We'll bow our heads, please. Dear Lord, being in Rotary allows us to serve others. We ask that you help us remember always the four-way test as we work today and every day. Help us to serve humbly and willingly as we focus on the needs of our community. Thank you for our gifts and help us to use them wisely.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Think, say, do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. Rotary moment.
Being still a newbie, I haven't had the time to enjoy all the Rotary moments that the more experienced members have. But my Rotary moment is every time I walk in here in our meeting is the overwhelming welcome that I get from my fellow members. And that just builds me up every week to move forward. Right.
Let's see, Sergeant at Arms.
Indeed, right here we go.
Hey, all right.
Total of 47 members attended today. We have one visitor.
49.
49. Okay, now we have 49. There you go. I'll get you guys with that. And we have one visitor from the Storm Out Club, Justin Pumpkin. Yes, we've got Kelly Harris right here. Guest with Tony. And we
Kelly is not really my guest. I picked her up in the parking lot. She was brought as a guest by Richard Eden, but Cheryl. But Richard is not a member anymore, so can I even bring a guest? And I know because he lives in our neighborhood. So she saw me first, so I brought her in.
Pretty close, man.
Mary Kay Tillman, guest of Danny. Sasha Zabava, right?
Sasha Bob is our director of marketing in our office, and Kelly is my guest. She handles mortgages and reverse mortgages in town, and thank you both for being here.
Thanks to all of you.
All right. How about some birthdays and anniversaries? I saw Kevin.
We're here. And I hope everyone is ready for a lot of announcements this morning. For birthdays, for the 2nd of May is John Middleton. For Rotary anniversaries, these are, I'm going to call this the 23-year club, because we have quite a few. It's Kelly Harrell, as of today, excuse me.
Yes.
Robbie Haslett, Buster Lewis, Don Ray, Tom Sears, Randy Sharon, and Jonathan Smith. We have 2 wedding anniversaries. On the 4th, I have Rob and Susan Midget, and I have James and Linda Pegram for their anniversary. So.
Thank you, Kevin. For all those those guys for that Rotary anniversary. That must be when we founded the club. May of what year?
1991.
91.
And I will say, Kelly Harrell was about 15.
Don't tell anybody.
Kelly was an interact. All right. Announcements. I'll send another email reminder. I need a head count tomorrow for the May 22nd Beach Music Thursday, where they're going to have a Rotary Beach Night. So they can see the head count. Several of you have responded. It's a great chance for a makeup. It's like 5:30 at Festival Park downtown. So put that on your calendar. It'd be a great time to socialize with the Rotary Club. The Girl Scouts were out here this morning. Tom Richardson's daughter and all those lovely young ladies. Personal hygiene items, gift cards.
Yep. We'll be back next week.
They'll be back next week, so if you didn't do it this week, you'll have another chance next week. Have a great
Yeah.
call.
Hope so.
Danny, you want to say anything?
Yeah, if any of you handyman types can just spend a few more minutes after the meeting with me, I need a little coaching on making sure we pull this thing together for the 16th and 17th, getting all the supplies that we need. I've got a tentative list of things, and I just need a little brainstorming to make sure it comes off well for our Carefree work days this weekend, the 16th, 17th, Friday, Saturday.
What do they have in mind?
There's really mostly it's fixing the beautiful dock that was built by Rotary originally, boat dock, which is replacing some boards and putting rails up around so the wheelchairs won't roll off in the water.
We had bumpers on them when they built it.
Yeah, we're replacing the bumpers. Yeah, we'll have to replace the bumpers. They're old and dry rotted and pulled up.
They shouldn't be rotted, they were permanent.
I'm not saying you didn't, you guys. Time was our enemy. Anybody that came afterward, great.
All right. Other announcements? Yes.
Our office is the signature sponsor for Relay for Life. We have a team called Sasha's team. Sasha is a recent, thank God, survivor of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and we have Team Sasha. We would love for y'all to walk with us. It's May 17th. It's at Prolific Park from 11 to 11. Don't worry, you don't have to walk from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. You can walk as little as 15 minutes if you want. But we would love to have you join our team. Walk for Sasha. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Is there like a website or a donor page?
If you go to Cheryl's website, there's a little banner on the side. You'll see it, and you just click that, and it'll take you.
Take you right in. Okay, great. I think I saw an ad in the paper too.
Right, we tried to put it out there.
Yeah, great. All right, thank you, Cheryl. Any other announcements? Buster?
Happy dollars!
Are we excited this morning? We've got all these great robotic geniuses here. Mark.
Got a couple. Just in case anybody lives out towards the Summerfield Way, our office was kind of featured in one of the things in Northwest Observer. So I'll do that before I get busted. And then the rest of it is Bobby and I finally got together enough that the President's Club gave us a little bit of money for Smile for a Lifetime. And just wanted to say that that program just awarded 3 new scholarships. We're a little over 30 recipients, and we're approaching $250,000 in care, including a couple surgical cases and stuff like that. So members here, of the dental community here in this club and throughout town have really supported it well, and I can't say thank you enough. Thank you.
This happy dollar is for finally getting Coach M.K., Mary Kay Tillman, to come to our club. And she was going to be a speaker one time, and we're gonna get it on the circuit as soon as we can. She's a great friend of several members in the club.
last weekend. We left last Thursday night. And it did involve 2 days of getting up at 3 a.m. and getting on a boat and going in the middle of this dark lake and catching bait. But there were lots of fish caught, lots of alcohol consumed. There was a tornado. We were right in the middle of a tornado. It was really, really exciting. And I have to say, it is the most fun I've ever had with dentists. So. There were a lot of dentists in it.
So I have two. I guess the first one is my daughter Kylie turned 21 today, so my oldest is now 21. The other one is, and some of you have seen this on Facebook, so my husband, ever since I bought my little red GTI, has been very jealous of it, and we needed to get a new car, so over the weekend we bought, he had to of course find himself a limited edition 2007 Fahrenheit GTI. There are only 1,200 of these that were sold in the U.S., and it's numbered, so this is number 543 out of 1,200. And he now spends his time trying to tell me all the ways his car is more awesome than mine. So his is an automatic and mine's a manual, but he's like, if you put it in sport mode, I need to follow Jim's advice and take both of them up to the track at VIR and go out there and see which one of us is best.
You just can't make an automatic cooler than a stick shift. There's no way. You tell him I said it. John.
Well, I've got $2. One, my son, oldest son, and his fiance settled on their house yesterday. They're doing it the opposite way, getting the house before they get married. And then my daughter finished her first semester, successful first semester in nursery school at Duke.
All these kid stories just reminded me of my daughter and her husband just bought a new house last week in Charlotte. And we went down to see it, and you always try to be upbeat and positive. It's big. It's big. Have you ever seen the movie, first thing that came to mind is that movie Money Pit? But they had a pool specialist in their group of friends that helped them move. And he used to manage pools and do all this stuff. And so when they got there, Duke Power turned off the power some time ago. It has a swimming pool. The pool was very green. And so the pool specialist goes out to the shed and finds a 5-gallon jug of what he thought was pool shock. It turned out that they really should have called the Guinness Book of World Records because they were trying to make the world's largest thing of salad dressing. Yeah, they did find somewhere you can get something that actually takes oil back out of a pool. It comes in a jug, and they put that in there, and 3 days later, they were looking for some more of that stuff. Yeah, it's ready to go in. I really don't wash my hair.
Lester, when I became a member of Cape City Rotary Club, my daughter was 14 years old, 23 years ago. Saturday, my wife and I were going to Furman University to see her daughter, our oldest granddaughter, perform ballet on the stage. So, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Brian Kaiser and I found another good place for a 545 Marshall Freehouse. We've been traveling up and down over the past, 3 years. It opened May 19th. 90 whiskeys, something like 60 bourbons and gins. I mean, stop it. It looks like it's going to fit
This is just to the robotics team. I want to let you know that some of the Rotary members don't think of alcohol all day long.
Well, Grandpappy told me one time, he said, if I'm ever on life support, I want you to unplug me. and then plug me back in and see if that works.
Always fixing my computer. All right, Steve Brannon, I'll turn it over to you. We have a very, very unique program today, I believe.
Thank you, Bobby. Well, you guys, this is probably the first time you've ever heard anything about the Robotics Club. But no, I'm very, very excited actually to have Team 2655. Woohoo! Team 2655 just returning back from the World Championships in St. Louis last weekend. I'm sure they will share a little bit about that. I'll let Dawn tell a lot more, but the club actually they started planning for Team 2655 in 2007, and it's been quite a ride ever since. This is his first actually official year with the club. He's been around the club for the last couple of years, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Dawn Davenport is really a lot of the manpower behind organizing the club and working with all the students, and just I can't say enough about the team. So this is Dawn Davenport and Team 2065, the Flying Platypi.
Basically, normally when we go and do, we call this a demo, typically the students are the ones that we talk to. We have not done a Civic Club demo probably in about 3.5, 4 years. Why, I don't know, but anyway. So it's a little different than a normal demo because most of the time we're in schools, we're at family days at organizations, or down at the movie theater for a kickoff for some robotics related video or whatever. So today I'm going to talk a little bit, go over our slideshow. Next time we do this, I told the kids, hey, one of you guys are going to be doing it. And so we just wanted them to get an overview about how we go about doing this. This robot we brought with us today with the deflated, the robot works, the tubes, we have a terrible time keeping air in them for some reason, but it's one of those things. All right.
Why in the world do we do all this? Why do you Platypi, Cy Young?
I Platypi because it gives me the opportunity to share my passion for STEM with others. This year we made these brushball kits to give the kids to introduce them to STEM. We held competitions for them to test out their bots. Seeing the kids be amazed when their robots work is really the only reason I need to Platypi.
Why do you Platypi, Josh? I Platypi because I get to give others the same opportunities that I was given. I was on an FLL team for 4 years, and I would be a very different person if I hadn't been. Now I'm giving kids the same experience by mentoring their teams. It's just incredible. We have mentored 20 FLL teams over the past few years. We also started the first 4 FLL teams in Panama. These kids would never normally get this kind of opportunity. The only thing stopping them was money, so we bought them all of the necessary materials to start their teams. We've also helped other FRC teams. I think that the biggest impact we've had on an FRC team would be Team 3280, the Road Rebels. One of our alumni mentored this rookie team, and they ended up winning their regional. Unfortunately, they didn't have the funds to go to the championship, so we raised and donated funds to get them to St. Louis. Why do you Platypi, Michaela?
I Platypi because it's a way for me to serve my community while working with my friends. When you think of a robotics team, you don't usually think of community service, yet we do it anyway. It's way more fulfilling than working with a robot. We've been to Operation Christmas Child twice, helped build homes for missionaries, and raised money to buy a wheelchair for someone with multiple sclerosis. It's been a great experience.
Why do you Platypi, Stephen?
I Platypi because I want to let others, like myself, know that a group such as this exists. I find myself surrounded by people who think like I do and love the things I love. It's where I belong. Being a Platypi, I get to show others about FIRST. We have done over 130 demonstrations and presentations about FIRST. Recently, we tried branching out to an art museum with our brush models. But I think our biggest impact would be our license plate. We are the first team to ever create a first vanity license plate. So now the first logo can be seen all around North Carolina.
Whoa, I guess all these stats do mean something. I thought they were just numbers, but they represent the whole team doing what they love. Anyone else?
I Platypi because my experiences on mechanical will help me to become an engineer.
I Platypi because the team is very accepting and teaches me new things.
I Platypi because I want to spread the excitement of STEM.
Okay, there were a number of acronyms mentioned during that video. And that video is what we call the chairman's presentation video that the chairman's group out at St. Louis got to look at and at the different regionals. It tells them about our team. A lot of different acronyms used. I'm going to go through some of them very quickly. These screens, next screens that come up, basically will tell you about the different ones, and I'll give you a few words around each one. Basically, there's 4 levels of FIRST. FIRST stands for recognition, for inspiration, recognition of science and technology. There's a Junior First Lego League at FLL. That's for elementary kids. There's a First Lego League, FLL, which are for middle school kids. And there's FTC, which is a high school kind of moving down into upper grades, 8th grade, 7th grade in some cases. Robots that are a lot less expensive to build than the one that we do. And then FRC, which is the program that our club is in. Junior First Lego League, again, this is for the kids that are in elementary school. This gets them introduced to FIRST. First Lego League, this is for kids that are in middle school. This is where they build a robot using Legos and they compete on a table. And you've heard our team mention that we work with a lot of First Lego League teams. Started some down in Panama. This is that level. These are middle school kids. There's about 400 First Lego League teams in North Carolina. The FTC was brought on board several years ago, about 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, to fill the need that a lot of teams couldn't raise the cash it takes to be a FIRST robotics competition team. An FTC team can get by for $2,500 to $5,000 a year, whereas a FIRST robotics team, that's the level that we work at. Just to get into your first competition costs you $5,000. That doesn't include travel or anything else. That just gets you in the first competition. Again, FIRST is for kids starting in elementary school, going all the way through 18 or high school. Once you graduate from high school, you can no longer be on a FIRST team. It was started initially intended to be done in schools. Our team happens to be independent of the school system, and a lot of teams are moving in that direction. But most of the teams are sponsored by schools. 4 states have FIRST as a program in all their high schools. Michigan, Texas is well on the way of getting there. Hawaii is funded by the state and is on the way of getting there. And I don't remember the last one, but anyway, there's a good number of states that are moving to this as a way to get people interested in engineering. Scholarships. For the kids that are in FTC and FRC, a lot of scholarship money out there every year. About 1 out of every 3 FIRST students gets a scholarship. Pretty high percentage. If you want to go to an engineering school, okay, this is the way to get there. Most of your top engineering schools, MIT, WPI, Kettering University, a number of them, basically, you've got FIRST on your application, you go to the top of the list. Okay? MIT last year, 35% of the incoming class, freshman class, came off FIRST team. They had 6 recruiters at the championship this year. Woody Flowers is a professor emeritus, or whatever you call him, from MIT. He was one of the sort of co-founders, or brought on board fairly early with starting first. Now, one of the things that I get all the time out in the shop, and I'm the technical mentor for the team, and so I work with the kids in the shop, and we actually build in a machine shop. The kids get to run mills and lathes and cut-off saws and brakes and all that fun stuff. But all the time I'm hearing them say, well, that's the reason we study math in school. They do a lot of math, they do a lot of physics, and they're finding out that, hey, this stuff that I'm sitting in the classroom trying to learn actually has some use. And they're learning it while they're still in high school, not after they get out of school and get into a first job. So, you know, it was kind of like being in your first job to some extent, in a really neat environment. First has been around since 1992 and has steadily grown since that time. There's now over 2,700 teams. There's team numbers go up to 5,000, so the lower the number, the older the team. Okay, we're 2655, they're up in the 5,000 series at this point. So a lot of teams have become inactive over the years, and the two primary reasons for that is lack of mentors, and this takes a lot of effort. Build season is 6 weeks long. We meet 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Okay, 4 hours every night and all day Saturday. It takes a lot of dedication on the part of the mentors and the people working with these kids to do it. It takes a lot of dedication on their part. Money is the other issue. Again, this level takes a fair amount of money to be able to operate. What's the impact of FIRST? Well, they had a couple of studies done on FIRST by various organizations, and one of the things that you find is that the kids that are in the FIRST program tend to go to college. The great majority of them go to college. I don't know what the total percent is, but you know, here's a school from a low income area, and basically with 60% graduation rate, and every one of the kids on their first team went to college, and all of them got scholarships. Here's some other ones. Cleveland, again, a low-income school. Attendance fairly low at the school. First team all graduated, all got scholarships. The other impacts, of course, are just on regular kids, the ones that aren't from the low-income areas, more likely to get into engineering. The guy that started first is Dean Kanan. He's the guy that invented the Segway. It's what he's best known for, probably. For folks in the medical community, he's the guy that invented the insulin pump. Okay, his company builds stuff for the medical, primarily the medical community, and he couldn't find enough engineers. And he says, "What do I got to do to get more?" This is the result of that. Impacts on women and minorities. Some people say women are minorities, but not. Really, they're not. There's more women than there are men. I love this first one. First is the only sport that you can play in high school that everybody can go pro. Okay, you get these schools spend lots and lots of money on sports teams. They do all kinds of stuff. They let them out of school and class and everything else. And when you get down to it, very, 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 very low percentage of those kids can ever go pro in those sports. First, everybody can go pro if they want to. All they got to do is apply themselves in school. Okay, these are some of the national sponsors that sponsor FIRST on a national level. These are our sponsors so far. Okay, we're always looking for more sponsors. Again, needs a fair amount of money to make this program work. Why do you want to sponsor a team? These are some of the reasons.
This is the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl of smarts, that is. It's a life-changing competition. It's kids having fun, competing, working together to dream up, design, and build robots.
It's just an exhilarating feeling. It's like I'm using power tools.
They're having the hardest fun they'll ever have. And they're becoming our next generation of engineers and innovators. First, for inspiration and recognition of science and technology, my teachers were some of the greatest influences on my life. By challenging and trusting me, these mentors got me to understand that I could do anything I put my mind to. First mentors are changing kids' lives every day. Professional engineers, teachers, parents, teaming up with young people not just to build robots, but to build confidence and self-respect.
I'm around people that I can get along with, that we talk computer lingo with.
FIRST was founded by one of our greatest inventors, Dean Kamen. Dean saw that kids mostly look up to sports heroes and movie stars.
So we said, if we've got a culture now that's obsessed with sports and entertainment, let's inspire these kids to be big thinkers the same way Shaquille O'Neal can inspire them to spend dozens of hours a week bouncing a ball.
Our president agrees.
Scientists and engineers ought to stand side by side with athletes and entertainers as role models. And here at the White House, we're going to lead by example. We're going to show young people how cool science can be.
250,000 kids aged 6 to 18 compete at all different levels. In 2 FIRST Lego Leagues, the FIRST Tech Challenge. And at the high school level, the FIRST Robotics Competition.
The only difference between this sport and all the others is every kid on our teams can turn pro. There's a job out there for every one of these kids.
Students who take part in FIRST are 50% more likely to go to college and twice as likely to major in science or engineering.
I definitely know that I want to pursue engineering.
Once they've tasted what the power of knowledge is, that it can be fun and rewarding, they won't go back.
There's no doubt FIRST works.
10 or 15 or 20 years from today, some kid in those stands will have cured Alzheimer's or AIDS or cancer, or built an engine that doesn't pollute. Look at these kids. They're the future.
I feel like I can go and do anything I want to do because of this program.
Someone took the time to guide and inspire me. It changed my life. Take some time. Go to usfirst.org.
Okay, basically, our team right now is in the recruiting mode. All of you have got employees. Hopefully, a lot of you may have kids or grandchildren that are high school age. Our team is looking for team members. So if you've got folks that might be interested in this, it's a good opportunity to get in touch with us and come visit and see if this is something they might be interested in. I'm going to ask the team to come up and answer any questions that you may have, run the robot for a little bit, and questions? Come on, bud.
How many people come to that annual competition you saw? And it looked like you had an arena full of people there.
Yeah, that's the St. Louis Dome. They say between 25 and 35,000. 600 teams, parents, all kinds of people there.
So how would you like to host that in Greensboro?
Sorry,
self-serving.
Not a large enough facility in Greensboro. This is held in the Dome in the Convention Center in St. Louis. Before that, it's held in the Georgia Dome and Convention Center. It take up all the space. Pits take up a lot of space.
When you have a competition, how much notice do you get and how clear a description do you get of what your robot has to be able to do?
Well, then on the first Saturday of every January, we get there's a video stream and they show us our game. And like this year, we were picking up inflated inner tubes off of the floor. Louder, okay. And hanging them on racks on the wall to make the first logo. Or you can see it on the slide. But this year, actually, we were picking up 2-foot diameter exercise balls. Thank you. And shooting them into goals in the wall. But it was a lot about teamwork this year because we had to pass them to 2 other robots on our team across the 30 by 60 foot field that we play on. But anyways, the first Saturday in January, we get our game, and there's very detailed specifications of what we have to do. Then we have 6 weeks to design and build whatever robot we want that year. And then the competitions are a few weeks after the build season ends, so it's pretty detailed, yeah. Yep.
What aspect of the program has been most meaningful to teachers? What about it?
Probably getting to talk to people like you guys, because we've gone to several other demos for talking to mostly business people and hearing their stories and how they work. I've talked to many engineering people, and that's inspired me too. And also the places we go, and I don't know, it's hard to explain because we do a lot of things, but my focus for in college is environmental engineering, and I discovered that through first, and so it's inspired me.
For me, I think I used to be really shy, but this year I actually was elected as the team president, and almost the very first thing that I had to do was give a presentation to 60 some employees at Volvo about first. Anyways, it's helped me break out of my shell a lot, so that's been good for me.
Wow. For me, it would have been, I've learned a lot of engineering skills. I've had great mentors at the time in my life, and everywhere possible. It's a lot of what Josh said too. I've really broken out of my shell. I've never really spoke to anyone before because, you know, homeschool. But, you know, getting up and we were doing presentations at championships, and we had presentations. It was great.
I have a 10-year-old son that loves to build with Legos. And what I'm curious about is how did it all start with all of you, with your passion, desire to get into robotics?
Well, excuse my voice, we were just last week in that St. Louis, and there's a lot of yelling. So, for me, actually, I was a sibling of a member on an FLL team. My brother, who's 3 years older than me, was on an FLL team. I tagged along, I enjoyed it, like watching him mess with the robot. A few years later, after I had been on the FLL team, he moved up to FRC, and he started building that thing. And so I went to the machine shop, and I saw it, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. You guys use all these machines and build this amazing looking robot. And I couldn't wait to get ready for it. So for me, it was just inspiration from tagging along with my older brother, who probably got annoyed by me, but you know.
My inspiration came actually from my little brother, who was on an FLL team called the Bonsai Bananas at the Greensboro Science Center. And a bunch of the team members that graduated last year were mentors on that FLL team. And so when he moved, well, actually I moved up to this program before he did because he's 2 years younger than me, but I joined mainly because I heard about the program and I was like, what is this all about? And so I visited the machine shop and I saw what they were doing, and so I decided to join, and it was a really great decision for me.
I actually heard about the program from my piano teacher when I was like 10. I was like every other kid, loved Legos. But then I got into the first Lego League, and the first year it was just, you know, cool because, hey, Legos. But then I started to see a bunch of the other stuff that the program has to offer, and moving up to FRC when I graduated from middle school wasn't really a question. It was just something I was sure I was going to do. I'm not really an engineering person. I don't like to get my hands dirty. But I'm more of a computer geek, so I'm probably going to go into computer science.
When y'all go pro, what are engineers getting out of college right now? First year?
It depends on the type of engineer, because a petroleum engineer can get $120,000 a year.
21 years of age.
Straight out of college.
Straight out.
Okay, so they give you your specs and they tell you what has to be done. Where do you build these and where do you get all your materials?
We're actually very fortunate in that aspect. There's a local machine shop, Blue Ridge Tool. They're on Sandy Ridge Road in High Point. But whatever, it's the same. Okay. But anyways, they let us use their machine shop for free, and they also give us scrap metal to use.
They actually donate a lot of metal.
A lot, yeah.
And they provide the tooling and the machines and you know, they actually, instead of just giving us scrap metal, we've got access to all their metal supplies. And every year they end up buying us specifically several pieces of things. We figure their donation's worth about $40,000 a year. Okay.
Other than your robot, what was the coolest thing you saw at the competition? Said, I wish I'd thought of that.
Well, in the first 15 seconds of each match, there's an autonomous period where the robot runs without you controlling it. And there was a team that picked up the other two teams' balls that were on their alliance and shot them into the goal so that in the autonomous period, the other two teams could go do something else.
In 15 seconds.
In 15 seconds. So, yeah, that was probably the coolest thing. And it ended up winning them the tournament.
Wow.
Wow. The thing I saw that made me wish we had thought of that was last year we had to pick up and shoot frisbees or climb a 9-foot pyramid, something like that. And we chose to climb this pyramid instead of focusing on shooting frisbees. We thought that was like the hardest aspect, but actually we were completely wrong. The top to the pyramid was a lot harder. But there was a team at the North Carolina tournament who could, at the feeding station at the end of the field, they had their mechanism that like pick the human players feed those frisbees through the slot in the wall, and then their robot could like shoot it all the way across the field right into the goal, and they got like hundreds of points that way.
So they're shooting a frisbee 60 feet across the field into a goal that's about
2 feet.
2 feet, yeah, 2 feet tall by
it was like
4 feet.
It was pretty wide, the middle one.
Oh, the middle one, yeah. 7 feet wide.
And almost perfect at first, too.
It was
pretty good. Cool.
I would say they had a 90% accuracy.
Do all your robots use vision systems? Is that part of your?
They can. We usually don't. But there's usually, depending on the game, a vision target that you can use. It uses retroreflective tape. So if you shine a light on it, the light bounces back towards the light source instead of at an angle. So you can do that. Like 2 years ago, we were playing sort of basketball with the robots, but there were vision targets around the backboards, so you could theoretically track that and autonomously fire. Sort of. Yes.
One of the reasons that we haven't used vision yet is the lack of a mentor that really had the skills to be able to deal with that and teach with that. I think we've got a mentor now that's going to be able to get into that mode. So. And again, that's one of the limiters that a lot of teams have. Our team's got about 12 mentors. That's adults that work with them. We can always use additional mentors. And we need mentors for things like marketing and fundraising and publicity and stuff like that, not just the folks that build the robots. You heard some of them say, well, I don't like to get my hands dirty. Okay. A lot of kids come and they think, well, that's all you're going to do is build a robot. Our team is more than just building robots. We compete for what's called Chairman's Award. That's the top award that a team can win at a regional or at the championship. And you have to have everything, a business plan. You got to have the videos like you saw there. We'll do animations. They do marketing, we have to raise money. This team typically will raise $40,000 a year. How many kids can come out of high school and put on a college application that I led an organization or group of students that raised $40,000? Okay? How would you like to see that? Recognize as business owners that 25% of your people leave every year. What happens on our team? Our most experienced person on the team typically will have 3 years. Okay? So that's the kind of environment that we're working with year after year after year. Last year we lost 13 seniors out of 25 kids. Okay? We won chairman this year in Purdue, at Purdue University, what they call Boilermaker Regional. For a team of 20 kids to win chairman is almost unheard of. Yeah. And that's pretty unusual for a small team. Most of your chairman's teams that are effective and win chairman's awards have between 50 and 60 kids on them. Some of them as many as 120. But our team has been very, very successful in doing that. One of our mentors is an attorney with Tuggle Duggins, and his name is Mike Winnig. Many of you may know him. He is our awards mentor. He works with the kids on that, on those areas. We've got some other adults that work with some of the sub areas in that area, and then the folks that build the robot. So this is a lot more than just building the robot. Okay, on our team. A lot of teams do nothing but build a robot. We do a lot more. So that's a lot of what this is about. Let me introduce the kids real quick. Seth Brandon down here at the end is one of our programmers. He's, as Steve said, really just starting on the team. He's actually been around the team for a couple of years, been dying to get active, and this is the first year he's been able to. David Black next to him with the Platypi on his hat is our technical department head, and he's actually fairly young too. We're going to have him around for another year or so. Josh Hutchins is our team president. He's a junior, so he'll be back next year. Michaela Bate here is she's a junior. I know you're a junior, Michaela was on our chairman's team this year and did a tremendous amount of that work that got us to the chairman's award. And what's his name here? Zephyr Spencer is our programming head. And he's a sophomore, so he's going to be around another couple of years. You will not believe how much these kids know about this stuff when you talk to them. You go talk to our kids in the pits, and I will tell you that when you run a competition, you're running 3 teams against 3 teams. It's called an alliance. Okay, there were 400 teams at the championship this year. Normally a regional will have between 40 and 70 teams. So the regional for North Carolina is at the Dorton Arena in Raleigh. You talk about something that you could have here in Greensboro. You could do that in Greensboro. In fact, the regional director actually lives here in Greensboro. Her name is Marie Hopper. So something that the facility here at the Coliseum would be able to handle.
Let's go ahead and show the robot real quick. It's getting down to time here.
Now, a robot from this year is in a crate somewhere, either in St. Louis or on the way back. Probably won't see it for another week or 2.
Hopefully I'll
Yeah, hopefully he'll get back. FedEx basically supports first by donating the transportation for all the robots, and they make them actually ship them to competition.
What? We're running it on 1 key.
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, there's supposed to be a bolt that goes through the bar here.
Wouldn't happen to be there.
Whoops!
Basically, this robot was down a couple of weeks before competition. Spent about 4 hours running almost constantly, and they burned up some motors and some other stuff on it. And we kind of jumped through hoops to get it put back together enough to even bring it in here and make it move. Believe it or not, we had to replace three of the motors. So we've still got a gearbox that's about halfway there at the top. That's a real noisy one. So we're going to be doing some modifications to make it better for the time being. The robot that we had this year has a different drive system on it. The wheels are great for carpet. We can't run it on concrete. They cost too much. The drive system on our robot this year cost us about $1,400. And that's just for the differences in wheels. The robot this year can go in any direction at any particular time. Okay? It's a little different than this one. This one here's got what's called tank drive. It goes forward, backwards. You can turn it, but it's all based on the back wheels driving the robot. It gives you an idea what one looks like. They're about this size. Some of them can be smaller, some of them can be bigger. You ask about what do you see in the competition. When you walk in there the first time, and I'm sure some of these guys can tell you, you're like, whoa. You go to pits, they've got drill presses and sanding machines and band saws and stuff like that, and just unbelievable amounts of equipment that some of these teams bring in. We don't take all that stuff, but you know, a lot of these teams have that. Every time you go, when you get done building it, you think you got a really great robot that can do what it needs to do, and you go there and you see all kinds of robots that do it 100 different ways. So once you go to competition, I encourage the kids to go around, look at everybody else's robot, see how they do it, so they learn and get ideas for the next year. But the biggest problem is, if you think about it, most of these kids, when they come to something like this, they've never had any exposure to any of this kind of stuff, and they have to design a robot. Our team, the kids design and build a robot. You can look at our robots and tell that the kids built it. Okay? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay? Most of the time when they're doing design, I may tell them, hey,
can your robot pull a raffle ticket?
I don't think
That'd be a good competition.
Basically, the robots got where I'm going.
That's
Well, I'm sure they'll hang around for other questions. Great program. Read the last 3 digits.
See if you win.
622.
Buster.
Win a robot.